Welcome back to the Jeff Crilley Show. I was going over the bio of my my next guest, Chad Ruback. He's an appellate lawyer. Welcome to the Jeff Crilley Show.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Yeah, as I was going through this list, oh my goodness, listen to this. D Magazine, Best Lawyers in Dallas, Best Lawyers in America, Best Law Firms, Texas Super Lawyers, 5-star rating from Lawyer.com, Texas Rising Stars, top-rated lawyers. Did I miss any?
I'm sure you did, Jeff.
Nobel Prize.
Not yet. Give me another year.
Okay, well, let's talk about your journey. When you left law school, did you say to yourself, appellate law, that's for me?
Did not. I actually wanted to be a trial lawyer. I'd worked for the Tarrant County DA's office during a summer in law school, and I thought this sounded fun. Working for a DA's office meant being in the courtroom every single day, and they didn't make me a job offer. Instead, they thought that my talents would be more suited as an appellate lawyer, meaning one who doesn't have to face people every day. Made an introduction to Court of Appeals justice, and I've been doing appellate law ever since.
Wow. Did they do you a favor?
They did indeed. I had no idea this is what I wanted to do until I'd been doing it for a while. This is a much better fit for me than trial work would have ever been.
I know the legal space is very crowded. Is the appellate law space less crowded?
It's much less crowded, and that's why I've been able to keep so busy. There's not much competition. There's not many people outside of a big firm doing what I'm doing.
No kidding. Okay, so how do you find new business?
I do a lot of public speaking. I speak to bar groups. I went down to Austin recently to speak to a bar group. I'm heading out to West Texas, to Odessa to speak to a bar group. Anytime there are more than 3 lawyers in a room, chances are I'm talking to them.
That's cool.
I also do some writing for publication, any legal journals that are read by trial court lawyers. I try to write pieces for them. I'm very active in bar association work. I was president of the Dallas Association of Young Lawyers. I was on the board of the Dallas Bar Association. I'm an officer in my inn of court. So because my prospective referral sources are almost always lawyers, I hang out where the lawyers hang out.
That's cool. You got a great voice, too, by the way. Have you been told that? I mean, you have that radio voice.
I've been told I have a radio voice and also a radio face, Jeff.
Can you say you're listening to KZP now? So let's talk about marketing as a law firm, because one of the things that impressed me about you, we met once again at a friend's function the other night, and we were talking. I was just blown away that you're so marketing minded, because they don't teach you how to market in law school. Where does this come from?
My family owned a small business in Kansas. My great-grandfather moved to the United States from the Ukraine in 1908, and my family had the business ever since. So I grew up thinking, where's my dad's next paycheck coming? He didn't work for a big company. He made money based on what he sold that day. And so I had that mindset long, long before I even decided I wanted to be a lawyer.
That's awesome. So do you I was reading one of your blogs, and it's fascinating. You should go to his website. It's appeal.pro is your lawsuit.
Correct.
Lawsuit. Your website.
Correct. There's no .com. There's just appeal.pro.
Okay, perfect. And one of the ones that caught my eye was the importance of candor in the court. Do you remember this blog that you wrote? It had you were quoting one of the justices, and she was talking about the kitty litter approach. Do you remember this?
Indeed, that was Justice Ada Brown. She's a hoot. Her attitude was, let the court know about the warts in your case, because they're going to find out. Either your opposing counsel is going to find them, or the court itself is going to do some background research. And that's especially true in the appellate courts in Texas, because they have a lot of attorneys working for the courts, not just the judges. They have staff attorneys. They have briefing attorneys. I served in that role for a year after law school. The court will find the warts, and they will think a lot less of you if the court has to find those warts themselves, rather than you pointing them out and somewhat inoculating them. Say, yes, I know we have this little wart, but this is why it's not nearly as bad as it might appear.
Right. So your job, just not to dumb it down too much, is to take the work of another attorney and say, this is where this attorney messed up, or this is why this person did not get a fair trial, or what? Explain the appellate process.
I don't like to criticize other attorneys. I don't like to point out where another lawyer made a mistake. And I tell clients and prospective clients, it doesn't do any good to dwell on what a lawyer maybe should have done or could have done. Those are conversations to have, if at all, with a malpractice attorney. On appeal, we can't complain about what the trial lawyer did wrong. We can only complain about what the trial judge did wrong. So my job is to review the transcript, review the record, and look to see what mistakes of law the judge made. No amount of crying over spilled milk of we should have picked a different lawyer, the lawyer should have made this objection, the lawyer should have filed this or that. It's not helpful, and so I tell folks, don't worry about that. Maybe after this appeal is over, if you're thinking about hiring a different lawyer for your next case, well, then you can give that some thought if you feel it's absolutely necessary. But it's not at all helpful on the appeal to worry about what my lawyer could have done differently. Also, it doesn't exactly help my business if I'm criticizing the lawyers that refer me work.
Good point. Very good point. So is there a commonality in cases? I mean, do you see a common, if you're getting a case for the first time and you're looking at what the lower court or what a judge did, is there a usual suspect? Is there a thing to look at first? Did this judge do this?
What I like to do is see what the trial lawyer thought a mistake might have been. It takes me a long time to get familiar with a case. It takes me a long time to get up to speed on a new case. So the very first thing I'll do, if the client gives me permission to, is talk to the trial lawyer and say, what jumped out at you? What was your aha moment that the judge totally messed this up? And that's where I'll start looking.
Wow. And do the lower court judges like you?
Generally do. Sometimes I will help out in the trial courts. Some clients, the more enlightened ones, will bring me on before the trial is lost.
Oh, really?
So I can try to help it from being lost. And a lot of judges appreciate having an appellate lawyer come to the courtroom and say, Judge, this might be the direction you're leaning, but respectfully, Your Honor, this is going to cause all sorts of problems for you in the Court of Appeals. Here's how you can avoid having those problems.
What are your favorite kind of cases?
The ones where I'm paid promptly.
That does help, doesn't it?
I have people call me all the time wanting to know if I'm interested in working on their case. Well, they don't realize this is a business. I love helping people. I truly do. But I need to pay my bills. I have a wife at home who likes our lights kept on. And so for me to do that, my first priority in evaluating a case is, am I going to be able to advance the goal that I have of keeping my lights on if I take this case? People want to talk to me how great their case is and how they've been wronged, and that's all wonderful. But ultimately, if they're not able to afford to move the ball forward in terms of keeping my lights on, I can't help them.
Talk about your kind of bedside manner with clients. When a client comes to you with a case and you don't think they have a case, how do you tell them that?
I am a very straight shooter. I'll say it in those words. I don't think this is the case for you to hire me on. I'll tell them, if you really, really want to pay me a lot of money to accomplish nothing for you, I'm happy to accommodate, but I don't think that's what you want. And there's certainly some lawyers out there who aren't quite as candid. Some lawyers might not have as much work to do and might tell a prospective client what that prospective client wants to hear. I don't do that. That might help me in the short term. It might help me, keep the lights on, this month, but it's sure not going to help me long term because I have a reputation of someone who blows smoke, and I don't want that reputation. I want to have a reputation as someone who's extremely candid, a no BS kind of guy who's going to call it like he sees it.
My guest right now, Chad Ruback. He's an appellate lawyer. His website is appeal.pro. Tell me a story. What's your favorite case of all time? If you had to kind of look back on your career so far, was there a W, a win that you got that you said, "Gosh, that was so sweet"?
I had one recently that I really appreciate. I'm representing a young woman who contracted a sexually transmitted disease from a gentleman that she'd gone on a few dates with, and she took him to court and was successful, and he wasn't very happy with that, and he appealed it. I don't want people to think that I only represent the folks who lose at trial. I also represent folks who won at trial, because if you win at trial, the other side might be unhappy and might hire an appellate lawyer, and you might need your own appellate lawyer to protect your big win. And so that's what this young woman did, and I was able to help protect her win, to help validate the stories that she told in the trial court about what had happened to her. The other side wasn't willing to accept after losing at trial that it was a loss for them. They want to take it up to the next level, and so I was able to help her validate her win in the trial court with another win in the Court of Appeals.
When you get into a case, is the case typically several years old at this point? I mean, the actual deed that was done was several years ago?
Often, yes. Often I don't get involved in a case until after it's been in litigation for a good 2 or 3 years. I encourage folks to call me sooner because the sooner I'm called, the sooner I can point out some issues that will be coming up later down the road. Be sure to do this now because if you don't, it will bite you in the tail on appeal. But often folks don't think that they need any help until something goes wrong in the case or until something goes very right, like in the case I just described, and the other side wants to appeal.
So when you, if an attorney brings you in early, like while the case is still going on, you're able to consult them and make an objection or go on record as saying, Your Honor, this is, we strongly disagree with you on this one, or what's the process? I watch a lot of movies.
Absolutely. By bringing me in early on in the case, I can come to a hearing with a lawyer. I can come to trial with a lawyer. I do not try cases myself, but I help lawyers who do. And if I'm in trial with a lawyer, that lawyer can focus on coming up with the smoking gun question to ask a witness on cross-examination, can focus on making sure that his opening statement is exactly how he wants it to be. If I'm there, I focus on the law and let him focus on the facts. By me being there, I'm not taking his job from him. I'm helping him focus on his job and let someone else focus on the legal issues, what the case law requires, what the rules of procedure require.
I was a TV news reporter for 25 years, and sometimes I laugh at the way Hollywood will portray reporters, and I'll say, well, that's not the way it really works. How does Hollywood portray a courtroom? And, is there a favorite movie that actually you're like, that they did a good job representing what real courtroom experience is like?
Any movie that accurately represented what real courtroom experience is like would be a 6-month-long movie. That's the most inaccurate part I've seen on TV lawyer shows, on movies about lawyers, is everything happens so fast. We walked in the courtroom and 15 minutes later the trial is over. In real life, pre-litigation, the discovery process can take a year, can take 2 years. The appellate process, once I get, really get my fingers dirty, that might be months and months of waiting here or there. From the time I write my brief to the time the other side writes theirs and I get to file a reply, months and months and months go by. It would make for some boring TV watching.
Wow. Well, thanks to Court TV and, gavel-to-gavel coverage of things like the O.J. trial, America has had a chance to kind of peek into the courtroom. What's your favorite trial that you didn't work on?
I enjoyed watching snippets of the O.J. trial. I was in law school at the time, and so I was eager to see anything about the law, and it was a particularly exciting case. I don't practice criminal law at all, but those lawyers on the defense side really earned their pay on that case. They were working their tails off, and they pulled a rabbit out of a hat for certain.
Wow. Well, Chad, thank you for coming on the show. This has been a great segment. Will you come back again sometime?
We'll do anytime, Jeff.
Okay. Give us the website one more time.
www.appeal.pro. That's APPEAL.PRO, and there is no .com.
Awesome. Thanks again.
Thank you, sir.
When we come back, a man who's making a real difference in the very competitive senior and assisted living space, how he's setting himself apart and helping us all solve the problem of parenting our parents. That's just ahead on The Jeff Crilley Show.
More of The Jeff Crilley Show coming up.